Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
Well, first I wanted to continue on a little bit about the capitalism thing.
Yeah.
And from the sense of growing wealthy, from one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett. So there was a conversation that Jeff Bezos, at the time when he was the richest man in the world, he's no longer that. I'd be okay being the third richest man in the world, frankly. But he asked Warren Buffett, if your way of investing is so successful, why isn't everybody doing it? And Buffett's response was very simple. Because most people want to get rich quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I found an article which I found very interesting, and I'd like to talk a bit about this in the next few minutes.
Yeah.
12 things poor people waste money on.
Okay.
So tell me what you think, because I was thinking about, do I do these things? Are there things that I could be changing myself? And the first thing he said was neglecting personal development.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Right?
Totally agree.
And I would say that's not just poor people.
I would also agree with that.
I would say that's every level. I mean, we were at a conference last week, and one of the speakers of the conference said that there are studies that show that most people don't even read one book a year.
Yeah, it was like 90% of the people don't even read a book a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. The next one was relying on credit cards.
I would agree with that.
All right. Now, I was watching, CNBC, Fox Business yesterday, and they were talking about the average interest rate now is 20.7%.
Oh, I kind of thought it'd be higher, frankly, on a credit card.
And that's what I thought.
I thought it'd be like 28 or something by now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because those credit cards are the ones that people with bad credit are getting, and those are the ones that really make the news.
Okay.
And so it's an easy thing to talk about, because I know I get offers on credit cards, for 5.8%, or now I guess maybe 7%. I just throw them straight in the trash. I don't believe in paying interest on credit cards. I use a card, but I pay it off in full every month, when it comes in. But credit card debt has hit over $1 trillion.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So that's another one that people need to get control over. Now, this is one that did actually hit home, but not as much as the title of frequenting bars and pubs.
Okay.
It says spending money on social activities like drinking at bars can add up. Opting for more affordable social gatherings like get-togethers can help save significantly.
Yeah.
I've thought about the fact, when Elaine and I have gone out with you and Cindy, gone out for a nice dinner.
Yep.
How many times we've also gotten together at each other's homes. And you have made the comment, I so much prefer this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And it's not so much about the cost of it all.
Yeah.
It's more about the fact that it's a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more, it's a lot quieter. You're not competing against the people talking next to you.
Yeah, yeah.
And, when I think about how much, it irks me, a cup of coffee now at a restaurant, it's about $3.50 to $4.
At the airport, it's $7.
Well, that's a
whole nother conversation.
That's a captive audience, okay? This one was one that I know a lot of people do. Chasing the latest technology. That new iPhone comes out, you have to buy that new iPhone. That new computer comes out, you have to have that new computer.
Not me. Nope.
There you
I'm
go.
Android all the way.
You got a flip phone still in there?
I'm PC. I was thinking about going back to flip phone. Was thinking about it.
Now, what was the title of this 12 what? Mistakes they make? What is
Warren Buffett, 12 things poor people waste money on. But I don't think it's just poor people. I think, maybe poor people from the sense of Warren Buffett, which would be most of the population in this country.
Under $100,000?
I don't know.
Under $40,000.
I think the federal poverty line's like 28,000 or
I
something.
was say under
like
20,000.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that.
Now I can see to this point, I'm not one to go get the latest iPhone. I usually wait till it's a couple of years old.
That's what I do.
And they come out with the new one, and then I buy a new old model. But if you're borrowing money, putting it on a credit card to get that newest phone, newest headset, I totally think that's a destructive cycle to get into, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And you have to, start to look at yourself and wonder, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I heard a guy that helps people get out of debt, and we can continue this after the break.
Yeah.
Helps people get out of debt. He said, what is debt? It's buying things you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't like.
Right. Well, we're at what, number 4, number 5?
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes.
All right. We're almost halfway through the list. We will take a short break here on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Coaching Podcast. Now, you may be one of these people that's been listening and realizing, wow, investing, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and financial planning, tax laws constantly changing, and recognizing that maybe you might need some help in this area, but you don't want just anybody to help you out. So we have 10 offices in the Middle Tennessee area, and everything we do is fee only. We align our interests with your interests. So you can get an initial 15-minute phone call with any one of our offices just by going to paulwinkler.com/call. That's it. Every one of the offices is run by somebody with 20 plus years experience. They're all degreed planners. They all have academic backgrounds in investing, and you can get the help that you need. So if you want to set up a complimentary phone consultation, just go to paulwinkler.com/call. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
So we were leaving off at some of the bad decisions that poor people make with their money. I think we were at number 5. So bring it home, Ira.
We were talking about chasing the latest technology. And,
yeah.
I probably update my phone about every 3 years. Usually,
pretty close.
Like the 2 generations later, I'll buy the new phone. But then my wife gets my hand-me-down phone.
You were fine until you said that on air.
Yeah, that's all right. Look, I'm transparent, man. My life is an open book. This one, my wife is a whole lot better than me on this one. Overspending on clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Buffett, along with other billionaires, leans towards simplicity in his wardrobe.
Hallelujah.
Choosing classic, durable clothes over flashy, expensive brands that can result in significant savings. Now, this one I'm guilty of, buying new cars.
Oh, uh-huh.
But I hold my cars for 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
My last car that I had to change had a leak in the roof.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's just not good for driving. It had 220,000 miles on it.
Yep.
So I didn't think the car owed me anything.
I tend to buy one that's 2 or 3 years old.
And that's what he recommends.
And I drive it until the wheels fall off. I hate buying cars.
I know that.
I don't even like selling cars. I just basically find someone that wants it for $1,000 and will tow it away or drive it away, and they may get a great deal out of it. I don't like the whole thing, and I've driven Lincolns since, I bet, for about 30 years, and I had to get rid of a town car for this last. I got the Continental a few years old. I was glad the Lincoln brought that back, but I had about 245,000 miles on that. It was like sitting on your couch going down the freeway. I mean, it's just they just don't make cars like that anymore.
Yeah, no. Unused gym memberships.
I have previously been guilty of that, but I've canceled those finally.
So I bought, my last gym membership was here when I first moved here. I asked my accountant if I can deduct it as a charitable contribution since it was the YMCA, and I was told no. Unnecessary subscription services. Now, I wonder how many...
I'm probably still guilty of that. I go through my American Express bill sometimes and just like, what is that charge for?
Yeah, I'm on top of that.
You're on top of that?
Yeah.
I'd
rather sit through ads. Well, pay maybe because the business that I am in, I want to see the competition.
Yeah.
Whose voice is better than mine. Because I want that penny. Yeah,
Well,
I'm on top of.
They have entire apps now that you can download either on your computer or phone, and it'll just kill all those different unsubscribe you from all that stuff, and you don't even have to do it.
You're right. For $6 a month, we will monitor all your subscription apps.
Exactly.
Well, wait a minute now. That's the government.
And help you save money.
Yeah.
Over-reliance on skincare products. I see commercials for that on TV. I don't buy any of those.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the radio.
Maybe that's because they're watching TV at 2 a.m. when they're advertising skincare products or something.
Yeah.
How about regular nights out? Socializing is essential. Frequent nights out can be a significant expense.
I just don't have any friends, so it's not because I'm not poor, I guess. I just don't go out very
I don't
often.
like people.
That's right.
Ira.
Here's one. Gambling.
None. Zero problem with that.
Zero problem with that. All right. I don't have a problem with gambling. No. Smoking.
I don't do that either.
You know, I figured out for a client one day that he was into chewing tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
And he was spending about $15 a week
Yep.
on chewing tobacco.
$60 a
And
month.
he was less than 30 years old. And I said to him, I asked him, do you know what this is costing you? And he said, yeah, about $15 a week. I said, no.
Yeah.
And I ran the numbers using like an 8% rate of return.
Uh-huh.
And between 30 and 65, that would have grown to about $150,000.
There you go.
Plus, how much is it going to cost him to get sick?
Yep.
You know,
Lost
things
work,
like that.
lost income. Yeah.
So those are his 12 things that poor people waste money on.
Well, it's interesting. Before we shift gears, looking at retirement, thinking about just some unconscious spending, thinking about that subscription one that he was talking about. There was an article in Bloomberg that people no longer know how much to tip. And boy, that has really changed. It had started changing a little bit, I think, before COVID, but certainly through that, now all of a sudden you go into a fast food restaurant, you place your order, and they spin that thing around, and it's like, do you want, 15%, 20%, or 22%? And like, I just wanted fries and a hot fudge sundae.
Well, they already added gratuity on that.
Yeah. And this is an interesting thing. It's, tipping can be seen as an obligation, and my eyes are going out of focus. I apologize. Or a choice. There we go. And a new study shows the answer often varies by generation in terms of how you even view tipping. Younger people are more likely to tip by default, while older consumers tend to say it's a personal decision in a new survey from Pew Research Center. Our attitudes about when and how much to tip have been reshaped by all the screens prompting us for gratuities at cafes and other businesses. There is one area of consensus. Nearly 3/4 of the people said they now get hit up for tips much more often than 5 years ago. Have you experienced that? Yeah, totally.
Without a doubt. Because, for example, I was in the bagel store this morning. Every Saturday morning I go to buy a bagel. And to me, that's just a consumer product.
Right.
Taking the bagel out of the basket, throwing it into a paper bag is not, in my opinion, a service. I could just as easily go to Kroger or Publix and buy a bag of bagels.
Or let me walk behind the counter.
Right. And I put my card in, and it comes up. Do you want to leave $2, $1, $5, or $0? I think they've made it a guilt thing.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when they do turn over that fancy iPad.
Yeah. Well,
Say that again. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's an interesting quote. A paradox of tipping is that a behavior done almost without thinking can also be extremely emotional, said Stephen Zagor, an adjunct assistant professor of business at Columbia University. Some have grown so numb to the tip requests that they're ignoring them, prompting companies such as food delivery app DoorDash to warn customers that a failure to leave a tip could affect the timeliness of their order. So, used to, and now this could be urban legend. I don't know. You can jump in on this, Leviticus, if you need to. But tips, used to be stood for to ensure prompt service.
Right.
And that's where the term came from. And a lot of times you tipped in advance of the meal or whatever you were doing. And that was to make sure, kind of like tipping the guy to get a better table at the restaurant or something like that.
Or to jump to 30-minute wait.
Yeah, exactly.
That's only at karaoke bar.
And, and so now you tip at the end of the meal anyway, and the entire wage structure has changed around service stuff. I mean, it's really interesting how that's changed, and kind of, I think you're pointing out, it's almost a guilt thing on Uber. Whenever I take an Uber, this is interesting. On short rides, it says $1, $2, or $3, and you can rate the driver 5 stars. When I took some longer rides, like from the airport, out to the hotel for a conference recently, it was a longer drive. It actually had percentages. And I don't usually take long rides in an Uber, so usually it's the $1, $2, $3. And this had, 15, 20, 22%. And so, I think people are starting to get a little worn out about that. But that's another expense that if you're actually a good budgeter, you don't necessarily add 15% into your meal budget.
Well, my stepdaughter, she's a crafter and she does all these fairs, like she did Bonnaroo is what comes to mind. And she was telling my wife that, she's been getting tips. So she makes clothes. Mm-hmm. And so now it's actually being built into the software when they flip it over to create the tip thing. I don't know if she could take that or not.
Wow.
But she told me that people were actually tipping her.
Yeah.
I mean, so here they are buying clothes. I mean, can you imagine going into Macy's or Walmart?
Right.
And the person who rings up your item, you give them a tip? I don't think so.
See, with jobs like that, I do it out of kindness in my heart. Like, sometimes you have like odds and end jobs and you just go above. Like I stated to you that I used to work in the boot industry. They begged me, let me tip you. Because my service was that good. Mm-hmm. I was like, no. Well, sometimes when rent was due on the first of the month, I took it. But I took those tips.
There you go.
But I'm an over tipper. My friends hate that. My siblings hate that. Dad, when he was alive, he hated that. I'm like, no, because, I feel like they just went, especially if it was great service. Even if it wasn't great service, I still over tipped. Probably like $5 or $10 over. That's just the person that I am.
I enjoy rewarding great service.
Time.
Totally. Yeah. Really enjoy
when
that.
I don't do it, I feel bad, but that goes back to that guilt thing.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Oh.
So there was a period of time when I was working my way through college that I actually worked as a server. And, the whole thing, you're getting paid $2 an hour. So it's all about tips.
Right.
So I know people, my sister is a hairdresser. So all the people that I know that work in the service industry, hairdressers, food servers, bartenders, they all tend to be over tippers. Yeah. Because they know what it's like. Because there are people out there who actually don't know how to tip.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the day, it was like, if the average tip was 15%. And you were really fortunate. You really did a great job if somebody left you a 20% tip.
Right.
Now, if you look at a lot of receipts, those credit card receipts at the restaurant, it's like 18, 20,
the
22.
base, yeah.
So now they're raising the percentage of how much to tip.
The bill's higher and the tip is higher.
And I'll tell you where I had a really hard time with this whole thing. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were on vacation. Uh-huh. And we were down in Roatan, which is an island in South Central America owned by in Honduras.
Yeah.
And it was an all-inclusive.
Oh, yeah.
So I paid in advance for the food, the hotel room, and the whole thing, the drinks that we had. It was all, we had an armband, and everybody knew we didn't have to pay anything. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I tip these people?
Right.
Because I don't know what anything's costing me.
Exactly. Yep.
In certain countries, they frown upon that.
There you go.
Japan and Korea.
Europe as well.
Well, I think when my wife and I were in Paris, I think one of the reasons the service in the restaurants was lousy is because they make like $18, $20 an hour. There's no tip, and it's all included in the price.
Right.
So you take away this incentive to earn and work for the tip.
Sounds like capitalism works.
That sounds like socialism.
No, I mean, capitalism is the incentive to get good service. Right. First world problems here on a Saturday afternoon for sure.
Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. You want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. You can watch some of the videos there, and if you're not already a client, you can set up a free initial consultation. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.